welcome back to a new video of Sunanda's tutorial. In this video we will discuss about the secondary growth in stem. So at first the growth in length of the axis of the plant is called the primary growth. By primary growth the plant increase by length and produces the primary tissue. Okay, and this primary body of the plant is developed by apical meristem, shoot apical meristem and root apical meristem. But increase in girth or thickness of the axis is called secondary growth. The tissue formed during secondary growth is called as secondary tissue. And monocot and pteridophyte do not grow in thickness. So in monocot and generally in monocot particularly, the secondary growth is totally absent. Secondary tissues may be of two types: vascular tissues that are developed by cambium or true cambium, and cork and phallodon which are formed by phallogen or cork cambium. In a typical dicot stem, secondary growth starts in intra and extrastellar region. In the stellar region, and extrastellar means outside the stele. What is stele? Stele is the central portion of the stem of the plant where xylem and phloem bundles are present, vascular bundles are present. That central core is called as stele. Okay, so the growth, secondary growth occur inside the stele is called as stellar growth, stellar secondary growth. But the growth or intrastellar growth or the secondary growth which occur outside the stele is called as extrastellar growth, secondary growth. Next, secondary growth takes place by following step. First one is formation of cambium ring, then activity of cambium ring. Next, secondary vascular tissues formation and formation of peridome. So by following these four steps, secondary growth occur in the stem. So at first, formation of cambial ring. Normally in a stem, suppose this is the stem and these are vascular bundles, and in case of dicot, cambium is present between these xylem and phloem. In case of dicots, during the secondary growth, at first this cambium join with each other and form a ring. They extend laterally to form a ring-like structure. And this cambium is called as fascicular cambium, which are present between xylem and phloem, called as fascicular cambium. And this cambium which extends from each other is called, which is present between two vascular bundles, is called as interfascicular cambium. Okay. Next is what is fusiform initial and ray initial. These are two types of cell in vascular cambium of the plant, which is the tissue that produces secondary xylem and phloem. Fusiform initial actually responsible for producing vertical or which forms vertically, cells vertically, and they form secondary xylem and secondary phloem. And what is ray initial? These are shorter rectangular cell responsible for producing horizontal system of secondary tissues. Okay, next is the activity of cambium ring. The cambium ring forms cells inner and outer side. They can form cells into the inner side, they can also form the cells into the outer side, and they form, cambium ring form secondary xylem towards the inner side, towards the center, and phloem, secondary phloem towards the outer side. So it is bifacial. They can form xylem to the inner side and phloem to the outer side. Next is the secondary vascular tissues. So these are secondary xylem and secondary phloem. They are formed by fusiform initial. The secondary xylem is known as the wood. Okay, the wood is actually the secondary form of the xylem. The cambium ring cuts off new cells on its inner side, gradually modified into xylem element called secondary xylem. This tissue serves many important functions like conduction of water, nutrient. It also provides mechanical support to the plant. The cambial cell divides tangentially and produce secondary phloem elements towards the outer side. The cambium ring forms secondary xylem towards the inner side and secondary phloem towards the outer side. That secondary phloem is called as the bast, consists of sieve tube, companion cells, phloem fiber or bast fiber and phloem parenchyma. Normally the amount of secondary phloem is lesser than the amount of secondary xylem. Usually primary phloem becomes crushed and destroyed, okay, and become functionless, and the secondary phloem performs all the physiological activity for sufficiently a long period of time. So after the formation of secondary phloem, the primary phloem gets disintegrated and the all the roles will be performed by the secondary phloem. Next, what is periderm? Due to continued formation of secondary tissue in older stem, the epidermis, which is mainly the primary structure, gets stretched because during secondary growth, the diameter, the girth of the plant increased. So epidermis gets stretched and ultimately tends to rupture, and followed by death of epidermal cell and the outer tissues, and a new protective layer is developed called as periderm. The formation of periderm is a common phenomenon in stem of gymnosperm that increase in thickness by secondary growth. It also occur in angiosperm. So this periderm is actually the secondary form of secondary layer or secondary protective layer. Next, so these are the steps of secondary growth in stem. At first, normally the cambium extend and form a ring. Then it forms secondary phloem towards the outer side and xylem towards the inner side. Finally, the stem increase in the girth or thickness. Okay. Next, what is periderm? That periderm actually consists of three parts. The periderm is produced new lateral meristem called as phellogen or core cambium. Okay, the cells of phellogen are living, thin-walled and compactly arranged. The layer of cells cut off by phellogen towards the outer side is called as phellem or cork. The cells cut off by phellogen towards inner side called phelloderm. Okay, it is also known as secondary cortex. Okay, so core cambium form phellem towards the outer side and phellogen towards the inner side, which is called as secondary cortex. Secondary cortex. The periderm appear on surface of those plant parts that possess a continuous increase in thickness by secondary growth. Next, what is annual ring or growth ring? The secondary xylem in the stem of perennial plant commonly consist of concentric layers. They represent seasonal increment. In transverse section of axis, these layers appear as ring called annual ring. The wood or secondary xylem developed in summer or spring season called spring wood or early wood, and the wood formed in winter or autumn season called as autumn wood or late wood. So during annually, two growth rings are formed. The line of demarcation is quite conspicuous between late wood of 1 year and early wood of the next year. An annual ring therefore consists of two parts, an inner layer or early wood and an outer layer or late wood. Okay. So in this way spring wood and this is the autumn wood. Next, what is dendrochronology? So by counting the annual ring, we can predict the age of the tree. So this type of study is known as dendrochronology. Okay. Next, what is stylosis? In many plants, the wall of xylem vessel produce balloon-like outgrowth. into the lumen of vessel. What is lumen of vessel? Inside the vessel, the part inside the vessel is called as its lumen. And sometimes a balloon like projection formed inside the xylem vessel called as tyloses. Okay. Tyloses are formed by the enlargement of pit membrane of half-bordered pit present in between parenchyma cells and vessel or a trachea. They are commonly found in many angiospermic family. Normally, they are developed in heartwood of angiosperm and block the lumen of vessel and thus add durability of the wood. Because tyloses prevent rapid entrance of water, air, fungus by blocking the lumen of vessel. They block the that road, so it protect that wood. Okay. Next, what is sapwood and heartwood? So, the outer region of old trees consisting of recently formed xylem element is sapwood or alburnum. This is light colored and contains some living cells in association with vessels and fibers. This part of stem performs the physiological activity like conduction of water, storage of food. The central region of old trees, which are formed earlier, is filled with tannin, resin, gums and other substance which make it hard. It's called as heartwood or duramen. It looks black in color due to presence of different substances. Usually vessels remain plugged with tyloses. The function of heartwood is no longer of conduction. It gives mechanical support only to the plant. Okay. The sapwood changes into heartwood gradually. The portion of sapwood and heartwood is highly variable in different species. So it is all about heartwood and sapwood. So the central part is called heartwood and the lightly colored peripheral wood is called sapwood, then phloem, then peridome. Okay, it is the annual ring. You can see that the visibility of annual ring, spring wood, autumn wood. So you can easily count that rings and can determine the age of that plant. Okay, next, what is bark? It is commonly applied to all the tissues outside the vascular cambium of the stem in either primary or secondary growth. Okay, so what is lenticel? Actually, lenticels, you can think it as secondary stomata. Okay, because usually in peridome of most of the plants, certain areas with loosely arranged cells have been found which possess more or less raised or corky spot where the underneath tissue break through the epidermis. Such areas are universally found in the stem of woody plant. These broken areas are called the lenticels. So it is all about the secondary growth in stem of a dicot plant. I hope you really understand this and get benefit from this video, and please subscribe to my channel to get more important videos like this. And if you liked it, please hit the like button and share with your other friends. And finally, please subscribe to my channel Sunanda's Tutorial. Thank you.